So today we're going to be talking about recursion, and recursion is a very interesting topic because it is something that is or has become a very valuable and important topic in computer science. Recursion is a specific way of building an application that allows us to sort of explore things in a way that we hadn't before. And it's a mathematical way of developing an application that can respond interestingly to the world around it or to data that it's given. Um, One really great visual example of recursion is this fractal. And I don't know if you've heard of fractals before, but I'm sure you've seen them before. And the interesting thing about these is that they're sort of a visual model of what recursion is. And that is a pattern that repeats itself inside itself. And if you look at this, okay, this whole big spiral pattern is then repeated on smaller levels. And if you were to zoom in even further, it's repeated over and over and over at smaller and smaller levels inside itself. So the whole big spiral is made out of smaller spirals that are made out of smaller spirals, and so on, to several levels in this model. But fractals are not something that are purely artificial, because fractals appear in nature all over the place. If you Google fractals in nature, you'll see tons of different examples. This is one of my favorite. It is a variety of broccoli, and I think it's maybe called a Romani broccoli, something similar to that. I can't remember the exact name. But this broccoli grows in a fractal pattern, and you can see it grows in these sort of cone shapes. But if you look closely, each of these cone shapes is made out of cone shapes. And if you look closely at those cone shapes are made out of cone shapes. And it grows in this, it also has this sort of interesting spiral pattern to it as it grows. So that when it grows, it sort of, if you watch a time lapse of it that's any good, you can actually see those spiral patterns and those cones developing. And it's really interesting. But nature shows us that all the time in seashells and in lots of different plants. Succulents are famous for having fractal patterns in their growth. So fractals show up everywhere. And fractals I love because, like I said, they're a visual example of recursion.